Victoria City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
Any of those announcements, please don't search the web while somebody's giving a talk. I'm really delighted to introduce Shalini because I know what a good talker she is just on the basis of the 4-minute talk she gave a few weeks ago. So, and who here ever experiences any pain in the course of a week? Right. All right. Hands up who never experiences any pain in the course of a week. The alcoholics, that's who I'm really trying to identify. All right, well, I don't really need to introduce Shalini because she will do such a great job. She's got the book available. I've already bought my copy. She's here to sign it afterwards. She'll hang around to sign copies, etc. And I am 100% confident this will be a great talk. Shalini.
Good morning, everyone. So while we're waiting, okay, there it is. This looks huge. I am Shalini Joshi Amdagni, and today our topic is Your Pain is Speaking, Are You Listening? And 3 secrets to being pain-free naturally. So before we jump into the topic, just a little bit about me. So I'm Shalini Joshi Amdagni, and I'm a pain relief expert. I've been on this journey for 15 years. And 15 years ago, I had been diagnosed with an illness called costochondritis, because of which I had chronic pain. And I, back then, the only thing I knew to deal with my physical health was go to the hospital. So that's what I did. And I went to Bamrungrad Hospital, Summit UH Hospital, and no matter what I tried, all the different medications and treatments and different doctors, nothing really worked for me until I was, after many, many months of treatments, the pain just got worse, and I was asked to quit my job, and I was on bed rest indefinitely. So 15 years ago, my kids were about 5 and 6. They're 20 and 21 now, and so it was a very depressing time. It was a dark time, and luckily for me, so what happened was I was told that the last option would be surgery, and I asked the doctor, like, what are the chances that this is going to fix it? And he said, there's no guarantee. So that's where I was 15 years ago, and I happened to Google a technique online that I learned about, that I used by myself, on my bed, and healed my chronic disease as well as my chronic pain. And so I've been, since then I've been, I also discovered my passion. I quit my job and I started in this journey. And so I've been working with hundreds and hundreds of people around the globe. I work online with chronic illnesses as well as chronic pain. And was this the slide? Yeah. Okay. So this March, I published my book on instant pain relief, and it became a bestseller on Amazon in the holistic medicine category. And over the years, I've been featured in TV and magazines, but just last month, Bangkok Post did an article, and this was the Masala magazine and the Prestige magazine on my book and my work. I share this just to build some credibility, and I did, this is difficult to see, so I did co-author a book back in 2014 with Lisa Nichols. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Lisa Nichols. Um, uh, but this was a co-authored book with 20 other women, and it was about transforming stories of women across the world who had overcome some challenges and, you know, gone on to inspire others. That too became a bestseller. And I'm sure you should recognize Jack Canfield and Joe Vitale. In 2017 and 2018, there was an event in Thailand, Mong Thong Thani. It was called Missing Secrets to Success. And there was Mike Tyson and Jack Canfield and Joe Vitale, and I was one of the speakers that day, invited by Dr. Joe Vitale, who actually, if you see the book, he's written the foreword to my book, and he's mentored me to write the book, and he's also endorsed my book on a video and as well as on the book. So this is just to share a little bit so that, because we don't know each other, and I just wanted to build some credibility. So going to the topic, I want to share with you 3 things that I discovered in my own journey through chronic pain. And one of them, the first one is that pain is not the enemy. And then I'm going to share with you 4 mistakes that people in chronic pain make that keeps them stuck in chronic pain. And then I'm going to share with you the tool that I discovered, and I healed my pain myself. And then since then, I've helped a lot of others, you know, break free from their pain, but also equipping and empowering them with this tool, because it is a self-help tool. It's not like Reiki, it's not like acupuncture where you have to go to somebody and then somebody does something to you. It's something that you can learn literally in 5 minutes, and then you can start to apply it on yourself, by yourself, and see shifts. I even taught it to my 5- and 6-year-old if you read the book. So the discovery number 1 is pain is not the enemy. And usually when you're in chronic pain, it looks like the pain is the enemy, because for me as well, when I was in chronic pain, I had been confined to bed rest. So I felt like the pain was the enemy. It was keeping me from living the life. I wasn't being, you know, I couldn't be a regular mom to my kids. I couldn't drive them to school. I couldn't hang out with them at the pool. So it felt like pain was the problem in my life. But what I discovered was that pain is not really the enemy. It's simply a messenger. It's like a text message from your body that's saying, hey, something needs looking into. And it's usually not something that's going on physically with you, but what's going on mentally, emotionally, spiritually inside of you. And usually we don't, you know, we don't look at that. We just think, I have a physical pain, I need some physical solutions, some balm, some treatments, physiotherapy, ultrasound therapy. And that's what I had been doing for my physical, you know, disease and pain. I had tried everything that, you know, that the doctors, the medical experts had suggested. But I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in my life, and the pain and the stress and the tensions that I was experiencing. And once I started really looking into it, that's when I started seeing shifts in my pain levels. So, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, so what I discovered is chronic pain is not just physical. Any chronic illness is not just a physical thing. Now I want to make a distinction between acute pain and chronic pain, right? Because acute pain is pain that, you know, you're playing basketball, your ankle twists, you fall down, that's acute pain. Chronic pain is pain that you've had, even if it was because you fell at the, you know, playing basketball, but it persists way after its normal healing period. So it stays for weeks, for months, sometimes even decades. So that's the pain that I'm talking about. And that chronic pain is multi-layered. So if you keep addressing, so here are the 4 mistakes. Okay. Oopsie. Yeah. So 4 mistakes that people in chronic pain make that I was making as well. And number 1 is, of course, just only focusing on the physical pain. A lot of people, when they're in chronic pain, they'll go for this treatment, and that's what I was doing. So let me tell you my story. So I went, and initially my pain was just in one area, in my left rib area. And I went to the doctor and I said, this is what it is. And they said, okay, this is the diagnosis, costochondritis. Just take the anti-inflammatory pills and just take the pain medications and you'll be fine. And then I went back again because it wasn't getting better. And then they said, oh, sometimes it takes longer, everyone's different. And so this went back, I went back and forth until after 2 months, I noticed my pain had increased to all over my ribs, the left side, the right side. And then they said, okay, here's a rib belt. So it was always a physical solution. So there was a rib belt. Eventually they said, try hot packs and cold packs. But that didn't do it either. And then it was all over my shoulders and my arms. And so I switched doctors a lot. And then one of them seemed really reasonable. He said, so do you work long hours on the computer? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, oh, you have to get a chair with adjustable handrests, because when you're working so long on the computer, then the weight of your arms is weighing on your shoulders, and that's aggravating the pain. So I got myself a $600, 23,000 baht chair with adjustable handrests, but that didn't do it either. So everything that I did was just focusing on something physically, trying to fix my pain through everything that was outside of me. And it wasn't working. And I even tried physiotherapy and ultrasound therapy and lots of different things. Even what well-wishers would tell me, like, change a pillow, change your mattress, all of that stuff. But that didn't do it. And that is the mistake that a lot of people in chronic pain make. They just stick to something, physical, and they're not looking inside. They're not looking at what's stressing, what's stressful in my life, what's painful in my relationships, where am I feeling stifled, where am I not feeling inspired, disconnected. And mistake number 2 is trying the same treatments even when they're not working. So I know I was making that mistake, so I just kept going back to the hospital, and I didn't look anywhere else. Even though the ultrasound wasn't working, the physiotherapy wasn't working, I just kept going back there thinking, I just have to do it. I just have to try a little longer. Maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm unique, and I just need to keep going at it, and one day, magically, it'll work. But the truth is that if it hasn't worked for like 2-3 times, it's not gonna work. There's a different approach that's needed. And then thinking that the root cause of the chronic pain is the physical event that happened. So let me tell you my story. So what happened was that I was at a gym, and I was doing the abs exercises on the abs machine, where you bend back and forth, and I thought I overdid the exercise, and that's why I had this pinprick pain in my left rib. And I said, okay, I overdid the exercises. So I thought the cause of my pain was the physical experience, and I went to the doctor, he diagnosed it. So all the while, when I was doing my treatments, I thought that that was the cause of why I was in so much pain, because of that physical. And a lot of people that I've worked with over the years, some will say, I was picking up something heavy and I felt this crack in my back, or I was lifting something, or they'll describe a physical incident that they think is the cause of their pain. Like it's a structural thing. And I get it, like it is a structural thing, but there is something more going on inside of you that we never look at. So if you are in chronic pain and you think the physical incident is the cause, it's not really the cause. It is one of the things that added to it, but it's not really the root cause of your chronic pain. And remember, we're not talking about acute pain, we're talking about chronic, something that has persisted for a long time. And then, of course, mistake number 4 is telling yourself, I've tried everything, nothing works for me. Because that's where I was. I thought, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've met all the doctors, all the experts in Bumrungrad and Samitiwage, and if they can't figure out what to do with me, that means I'm stuck for good. And when I was literally stuck on bed, you know, and kind of my life came to a standstill mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. But the truth is that you're never really stuck. And your body is, you know, divine consciousness. It is, your body knows what to do. It knows how to eat. It knows how to digest. It knows how to make babies. It knows how to throw out the toxin. It knows what to do wonderfully. It's the most amazing machine on the planet. But there is something that we are doing that is interfering with the perfect functioning of our body. But that's something that we never look at. And if you've tried everything and nothing's been working for you, you know, nowadays we are living in the world of internet where you can just Google alternative ways to, you know, heal chronic pain. And I'm sure you'll be bombarded with a whole variety of treatments and therapies that you can look into that might help you. So when I was doing this, I mean, my whole orientation was only that the medical approach is the only approach to helping myself. But that changed because one day, when I used to be on chronic, on bed rest because of chronic pain, a friend of mine sent me an email about a self-awareness seminar that was happening in downtown Bangkok. Indus restaurant, and it's mentioned in my book. And so I didn't really want to go. I was depressed. I didn't want to put on my, you know, rib belt and neck support and dress because I hadn't gone out for months. But I attended that self-awareness seminar, and the host of the seminar showed a slide that looked a bit like this. I intentionally went late for that seminar because my intention wasn't to go and like learn about anything, but it was more about hanging out with my friend because I hadn't met her for a long time. So I came in late and I sneaked into the room. And when I went in, this was kind of the slide that he was showing the audience, and he says, your thoughts create your reality, your thoughts create your relationships, your thoughts create your disease. So I was very intrigued and not happy when I heard him say that. And I said, you know, I'm a mom. I am desperately trying to help myself just be normal and just be a normal mom to my kids. And how is it that I'm creating all this pain and disease in my body? I just couldn't understand it. I understood that you need to be positive and you need to think positive, but I could not understand how your own thoughts could create so much pain and disease in your body. So what he said was, when you have negative thoughts, for example, if somebody's phone rang right now and you were told that somebody you love dearly had a serious accident. So as soon as that thought would enter your system, it would create a static, like the energy is flowing, everything's fine, and then suddenly there'll be like the static happening in your energy, which eventually might feel like a negative emotion, like you start worrying, you start feeling anxious, you start feeling scared. And some people here might just start feeling something physically as well, like your heart starts pounding, your hands get sweaty, your muscles tense up. So negative thoughts cause something physical to happen as well. So it's, your thoughts and your emotions cause physical things to happen. You are not body. You are mind, body, and spirit. And what's going on in your heart, in your mind, is going to impact your body. And so if you've got something that's chronically been stressing you, whether in your relationships, whether at work, whether about your health, or family, then it eventually, if it's something that's stressing you for a period of time, it shows up physically as well. And so you might wonder, so what was going on in your life, Shalini, that led to this pain and disease? Well, so 15 years ago, I was at a job that I joined because it offered me the flexibility to leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, go pick up my kids from school who were in a nursery school, and come back home and then continue work. So it offered me flexi time. So that's the reason I took the job in the first place. But after 5 years of being in that job, I felt suffocated. I hated it. I felt stifled every time I entered the office. I felt like I was going to suffocate because I just didn't find it inspiring. I was not motivated. And with every day doing that, I was just in a very irritated, edgy mode. And then I would go back home with my kids, and all that frustration and anger and irritation would just pour out on my poor 5 and 6 year olds. And then I would feel guilt and shame and like a bad mother, and so there was this nasty cycle. So I would get up in the morning, swear to myself I would not do this again, and drop my kids to school, go to work, hate it, and it was like the inspiration tank sort of ran out, and I would struggle to create content that I could easily create, previously. I just couldn't do it, and then I would feel like a failure because you can't even do this properly, and then go with that energy, pick up my kids, and be upset with whatever, they would bother you, they would ask you 100 questions, and then it was like a vicious cycle. And then I talked to my husband, and he said, why don't you just quit your job? And I would take that, defensively as well, because, our kids go to international school, we need the money, so there would always be this fight. So there was this unpleasantness going on at home, there was unpleasantness at the office, and it was like stuck in a pain cycle, like a hamster in a wheel, and I didn't know how to switch this thing off. So that was the cycle that I was in for a very long period of time. So despite trying all the medications and the treatments and the therapies, nothing was working for me because I was only addressing the pain on a physical level. Try the treatments, try the ointments, try the, change the pillow, change the thing. But I wasn't addressing any of the stuff that was going inside of me. And so when I went to the seminar, as I was telling you, and he said everything comes from your thoughts, I went up to the host of the seminar, and I said, I'm in a lot of pain. What do you suggest I do? He was a hypnotherapist, and the reason I really went up to him and talked to him was because he had spoken about his own story where he had tried to commit suicide because things had gone really bad in his life. His wife left, his kids left, his business partner cheated on him, and he tried to commit suicide but survived. And then he was going from Bangkok to Dubai to Hong Kong to Singapore. A few years later, talking about how your thoughts create your reality. So I paid attention to him just because I said, okay, I didn't try to commit suicide. Like he knows some things. I'm going to ask him, what can I do about it? And he said, well, have you tried EFT? And I said, what is EFT? And he said, it's emotional freedom techniques. He didn't do it, he didn't practice it, but he had heard about it because he was a healer, he was a hypnotherapist. And so he gave me the website. This was 1997. And so there was only one website on the planet, emofree.com, that talked about this specific technique. So I said, okay. So I came home that night and I went to this website and I downloaded their 89-page free manual that was available and tried to make sense of what it was. A very thick technical kind of manual. And so I went to the part where they explain about this technique, and it's basically so EFT is Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it is a combination of Chinese acupuncture and modern psychology. So what you do is, who's familiar with acupuncture? Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar, you basically, when you go to an acupuncturist, they stick needles on key points in your body, on the end points of the energy meridians. Apparently we have energy flowing through our body, and it's flowing through different channels. In India, we call it the chakras, which is energy centers. They go by the centers on different parts. In Chinese acupuncture, they go, they focus on the end points of energy channels, let's just say meridians. And so if you go for an acupuncture session, the acupuncturist will stick needles at different points and either electrically or physically stimulate needles. And what that is doing is basically it's clearing out energy blockages that are that are constricting the flow of oxygen, the flow of blood, the flow of nutrition to all parts of the body. And once the energy is flowing well, then you do well, you experience health and well-being. And when the energy is blocked, then you experience dis-ease or pain. And so in EFT, you go a step further, because we say, where are these blockages coming from? If you go to an acupuncturist, he'll just stick the needles and turn on the current, and then after 30 minutes, you go. You have no idea what happened, but something got cleared. In EFT, we are asking, where is this blockage coming from in the first place? And so there we go. So remember that model? So where are the energy blockages coming from? They're coming from your stressful thoughts, feelings, beliefs. That's where the energy is, because normally, everything is functioning well. Like I said, and if suddenly there was a phone call, then this disturbing thought would zap your energy, and then you'd start feeling negative emotion and some sort of physical dis-ease. But when you've got constantly, we've all been through a pandemic, and it's been a very stressful few years, especially stressful few years, and we think nothing of it, but all the stress that you felt, that causes dis-ease in your system eventually causes physical disease and pain in your body. And usually, even though the national the science journals all say that 80 to 90% of all diseases are because of stress, we don't really focus on stress. We think it's normal, it's natural, and you just get on with the day because the whole world is stressed. It's normal to be stressed, but it is not natural. That's not the natural state of our being. Our natural state is flow and ease and well-being, but that's what I was saying, that it's something that we're doing without realizing, and that is not really dealing with the stress. People think that emotions, like for example, if you had a fight with your spouse yesterday, and there was a lot of emotion, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of frustration. And the next day, you don't really do anything about it. You just keep moving forward. And emotions buried alive never really fade away over time. They get stored in your cellular memory. And over time, they create, they overload your system, they deplete your immunity, and eventually cause physical pain and disease. So emotions are literally energy in motion, and emotions are meant to flow. If your dog died, you're meant to feel that sadness, you're meant to cry, you're meant to release that, and then you feel okay. But if you're a kid, let's say you're a boy, and your dog dies, and your dad says, hey son, don't cry, don't be a sissy, boys don't cry. That emotion that was supposed to rise naturally as a result of the experience was shut down, it was trapped. So your unprocessed, undigested emotions, trapped emotions, bottled emotions, eventually, they overload your system, and they eventually cause physical pain and disease. And I'm sure we all know that there's a lot of stuff that goes on every single day in our lives that we don't really, take, especially since the pandemic. There was so much hype about wash your hands, wash your, stuff, and keep it clean. And we never think about what's going on in our minds every single day. It's like there's emotional dirt, there's mental dirt, but we never think about that. We never think that, oh, I was so pissed off with this person yesterday. I felt really frustrated coming to the meeting because my car broke down, and all that stress that happened through the day, we just kind of like, that's part of life. But it's like saying, I don't, sure, I'm gonna wear this dress, and I'm gonna get dirty, I'm gonna get sweaty, and maybe somebody will throw paint, or but that's part of life, and I don't need to change my clothes, and I'm just gonna sleep with the same clothes because that's life. We don't do that because we can see it physically. It's dirty, it's stinky, but we don't do that with our thoughts. We just sleep with the same messy feelings and angers and griefs and sadness, and then wonder what's going on with the body, because we only address the physical aspect of the health issue and not really look at what's going on inside of us. And so blockages in your energy and flow cause pain and disease. And so if you've got chronic pain, even due to an accident, even due to a physical thing that happened, and it hasn't healed, it's important to look at what's really going on inside of you. So I'm sure many of you are aware of stress and the long-term effects of stress. Like today, you're not feeling stressed, but we've all lived decades, and surely you can remember something that happened as a kid, in your school, in your adult work life, and all that we've gone through the pandemic. And so if we leave stress unattended, eventually it causes all kinds of sickness. I was just discussing with the gentleman who just with the Rotary, and he was telling me about somebody at 40 who just he was exercising and doing everything and suddenly died. We all know such stories of youngsters who seem to be healthy, eating the right foods, and then suddenly something happens. Well, the body is not going crazy. It's just like we've got stuff that we don't deal with, and eventually the body speaks. And if it's, it sometimes it's just too late. So how can you use EFT? EFT is emotional freedom techniques So basically, it's a very, very simple self-help tool that you can use for stress relief, pain relief, and any kind of discomfort that you're feeling. And all you have to do is use your own fingertips. So thankfully, we don't use needles like in acupuncture. You can just take your fingertips and simply just tap on key acupressure points, very easy to access. We don't use all the acupuncture points that they use in traditional acupuncture, just very easy to access points on the body, on the face, and a couple of points on the head. And you also think about what's stressing you. So it's like emotional acupuncture. So you think about what's upsetting me, and as you tune into that specific thing that's upsetting you, you tap on the key acupressure point. Because what's happening is, if you think about, for example, you had a big fight with dad in the kitchen yesterday. And if you think about that specific stressful incident that happened, if I asked you to close your eyes and think about that incident, your energy system goes zzz, like there's a static, because you can feel either the regret or the sadness, like why did this fight happen? So it's still inside of you. It's still there. And so when you consciously bring that incident to your mind, you'll find that the emotions come up as well. They're in there, they're stored, even though you're not thinking about it right now. And as you tap on very easy to access acupuncture points on the body, tuned into that specific incident that upset you, what happens is, as you say a few affirmations and tap and go back and watch that movie in your mind, you'll see that the intensity's gone down. So if you're feeling really angry and really upset, now the intensity, let's say it was a 10, from a 0 to 10 scale, it's come down. And so what's happened is that some of that static that was going on in your system got cleared. It's like your plumbing, your body is like a plumbing system, and you kind of, EFT is like a cleaning tool, and you go and clear out some of that emotional charge in that specific stressful incident. Now, and if you do it a couple of times, you can watch the movie in your mind and feel no charge. You feel distance from it. And as you do that, as you keep working on the things that are stressing you, and so that's what I did. I was on bed rest. I was with chronic pain. And so what I did, and it's all the different steps are described in the book, is one of the processes in EFT is called the personal peace process, in which you go back and you list all the key incidents. You know, everybody has an emotional past, everybody has an emotional forest, and we all have trees in that emotional forest, but some of the trees are those redwoods. They just stand out, like that incident and those incidents, and they have the most emotional charge. That's where the stuck energy is, because you still have those incidents, those memories. So what I did was, as I sat on my bed, I made a list of all those painful incidents, which I describe in detail in the book. And one of them was when my mom left me at 6.5 years of age at my boarding school in India, because my parents were here and there was no international schools here, except I think there were 2 back then. And I was living my parents were in Ayutthaya, so there was no international schools then. I was put in a boarding school when I was 6.5, and I remember the incident where my mom left me at this big grandfather clock place, and I went with a bunch of friends somewhere, and I came back and I saw she was gone, and I never saw her. And this is the late 70s, so I never saw her for 9 months. I never heard her voice. Those was the days of the airmail, and I had so much emotion about it at 38 years of age when I was doing this work, that I kept crying for like a few hours thinking, what a mean mother. Like, why did she do this? What mother would do this? And as I released all that stuck sadness and you know, just mostly sadness, I came to this place of peace, and then I could see the whole picture from her point of view. She was leaving me, and she knew that I'm leaving my 6.5-year-old, going back to Bangkok. I'll never see her. I'll never talk to her for the next 9 months. I think she was probably overwhelmed, and she didn't want to have this big, you know, emotional outburst. So she just left when I was with friends, thinking, oh, she's busy with friends, let me take this. So it changed the whole perspective, and I was actually able to make peace eventually as I did some more tapping, specifically about this incident. And this is just one incident. So I made a list of all the incidents in my childhood, in my high school, in my professional life, in my sort of kind of cleaning the emotional closets of your life. And what I noticed is the more I did this work, the more shifts I felt in my chronic pain levels. Like, oh my God, the neck doesn't hurt at all. The shoulder pain is gone. And eventually, as I did this process, right, you know, just sitting on my bed and daily just clearing out this emotional pain that I was holding on to, including the current stresses that I had, like hating my job and feeling so resentful and feeling so, you know, not good enough and feeling like a failure. As I released and cleared, consciously picking on these incidents that had really impacted me, one fine day, like all the pain that I felt in my body was gone. I thought it would come back as it normally did, but it never came back, and I was completely free of my chronic pain. And my first ever client was a doctor who lived in my building, and she was actually helping me because I would go to all these doctors in Samitewage and Bamrungrad and say, I didn't know what they were doing because nothing was working. So I would go back to this lady who lived in my building, and because we met each other at the lift or whatever at the park, and you know, she would ask me, how's the pain? And you know, I would just consult with her, like, I'm taking these medications, do you think this is right? And one day she saw me without the neck pain and the rib belt, and she said, you're doing okay? And I said, yeah, I'm completely free of my pain. And she said, what did you do? And so you know, she said, I wanted to try this because she had leg pain for 5 years that wasn't going away either, and she was self-medicating. Of course, she's a doctor. And so as we did this process with her, I think I wasn't even a trained practitioner at the time, but as I did 5 sessions with her, her leg pain was completely gone. And that's how my journey started, really. And then she's a doctor, so she starts telling everybody about it. And you know, that's how basically the word of mouth. And since then, I've worked with a lot of doctors as well as you know, CEOs and MDs. Like one of my clients was Mr. Nadeem Salhani. He was for many years, for a decade, the director of Obopan Dunkin' Donuts and Obopan Thailand, and he had like 15 years of anxiety, so much so that if he went, you know, back then, I don't know who's familiar with Bangkok, but it was at the President Park area in Soi 24, and to meet his bosses, he had to take that direct flight that doesn't stop, the elevator, it just stops at a certain you know, a floor. He couldn't take that elevator because he had so much anxiety. And so as we did this emotional clearing and letting go, he was fine. And he came up to one of my meetings and gave a live testimonial. He also, I think his endorsement is in the book. So basically, as you release and clear what's painful inside, that's how you eventually can, because like I said, chronic pain is multi-layered. It's not just the physical. The physical is kind of the surface symptom saying, hi, I need, you know, there's something going on, something needs looking into, something's off balance. You're ignoring something that needs attention. And as you start looking inward and addressing that and clearing that, and EFT is a very simple tool. I get a lot of clients who say, Shalini, I know, my pain acts up when I'm stressed. When I'm stressed, I feel this even more, but I don't know how to let go. So there's a lot of people say that, and EFT is such a simple tool that you can use by yourself, on yourself, anytime, anywhere, and feel relief, whether it's a physical pain or it's some stress that you're experiencing. And so I can share with you, we use 9 tapping points. And so the first one is called the karate chop point, and it's really here at the eyebrow. So it could be any eyebrow point. So it's the start of the eyebrow. Okay. Oh, no worries. I'll do it. Yeah. So there's the eyebrow and side of the eye. So there's the bone on the side of the eye. You just tap lightly. How hard do you tap? Just lightly, not hurting yourself. Then the other one is under the eye. And these are, by the way, all meridian points. So there is the bladder meridian, no, this is the gallbladder meridian, the bladder meridian, the stomach meridian. So these are all meridian points, but for easy, remembering, we just say under the nose, and the chin point is not really the chin, it's that, what do you call it, the dented part of the chin. And then my favorite point is the collarbone. So the collarbone, just that mushy part under the collarbone, that's a wonderful point because there's like 14 meridians that go down just this point. If you're tapping here, this is something I do all the time. Like I go for a walk, walking like this because I'm trying to process something and it's easy. And then there is the under the arm point, which is actually the spleen meridian. And this guy, my kids used to call it, let's see when I was teaching them. And then the top of the head. This is also a really wonderful because they are all the yang meridians go down just this one point. And so that's the 9 points. So all you do is you tune into what's bothering you. So for example, here's I wrote it down, I don't know. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you can share this with people, but basically, how do you do this whole process, thinking and tapping? You say 3 affirmation statements as you tap the karate chop point, and I'm just going to run through it. So you'll tap, you can tap along. And if you have any ache and pain, do you have any ache and pain right now? Where do you have? Right shoulder? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yes, Ren? Lower back? Okay. And what about you? Legs? Okay. So what you do is basically, yes. Knee. Right knee? Okay, both knees. Okay. So what you do is, like I said, you tune in to what's bothering you. Right now we're looking at something physical, and so you just tune into the physical pain. And in EFT, we have a saying that to get results that are terrific, be specific. So even though I'm going to do this tapping very quickly, you can tune into your specific knee pain, and always what you do is you give yourself, you check the intensity of the pain before you do the tapping and after you do the tapping. So right now, for example, Ren, your lower back, on a scale of 0 to 10, how intense or what does it feel like, even as you're sitting? Okay. Oh, it's really low now. Okay. So anyway, what you do is on a scale of 0 to 10, give yourself a number that what your knee pain feels like or your leg pain feels like. And this is not something very, rocket science. It's just for you to have some kind of a comparison of did the pain shift at all. And you tune into also what is it making you feel. For example, if I have knee pain, I'm really frustrated because I can't walk with peace. So you address the physical as well as what you're feeling. So let's just do a quick round of tapping, and I'll show you. You can just tap along with me, and we'll feel like members of a cult. So here's what you say, and I know it might sound a little bit weird, but I have a chapter in my book that says what's weird can become wow. So let's just be weird and see what happens. So here's what you say. You say, you can say it in your mind along as I say it aloud here. So even though I have this pain in my body right now, I deeply and completely love, forgive, and accept myself. And we say that 3 times as we tap on the karate chop point. Even though I have all this pain in my body right now, I deeply and completely love, forgive, and accept myself. And one more time. Even though I have all this pain in my body right now, and you can tune into the specific pain that you're feeling wherever in the body, I deeply and completely love, forgive, and accept myself. And so all you do now is you move to the different tapping points, and it's very easy. It's easy to stick to this routine as you start. So eyebrow, tapping on the eyebrow point, and just say, all this pain in my, wherever it is, all this pain in my knees, in my hips, and just say that statement as you tap the other points in the body. All this pain that I'm feeling in my blank, all this pain, keep moving to the different points. All this pain that I'm feeling right now in my whatever, under the nose, all this pain that I'm feeling in my body, all this pain that I'm feeling in my body, all this pain that I'm feeling in my body right now, all this pain, all this pain in my body right now. And then I do another round, and then I'll say, I release it and clear it. I choose to release it and clear it. I release all this pain in my body. I prefer to release all these painful feelings. Releasing it and clearing it now. Releasing it from my heart, from my mind, from my body, and from wherever it's stored. It's safe to release it and clear it. And then on the top of the head, I choose peace instead. And just take a deep breath. So even though we look like monkeys, it's basically you're doing acupressure. So even if you didn't say any of this stuff and you just tapped on these points, it still works. It still not works, but it still helps because you're kind of doing acupressure by yourself. But if you tune in and do it, you'll see shifts in your pain levels or your stress levels. And I saw some gentlemen yawning, and that is a sign of release. So if you find yourself like water coming out of your eyes or yawning, it's a release of energy. And so it's really simple. And so if you had something stressful that was bothering you, like fight with dad in the kitchen, you would just make a mental movie of that particular incident, and then tap. Even though I have this fight with the dad in the kitchen movie, I accept myself, and then you would go down and just tune into what am I feeling. I'm feeling so angry, I'm feeling so sad, I'm feeling so frustrated, I'm feeling so mad at my dad, and la la la, whatever you're feeling, you just tune into that. It's really simple because you know what you're feeling and you know what's going on with you. And as you do the tapping round, you'll see the intensity goes from, let's say if it was an anger, it might go to a sadness. If you tap on the sadness, it might go to regret. If you tap on the regret, it might it's just gone. So a lot of the time when people do this, even for the first time, they'll say, oh, I feel a certain distance. I feel like the first time when I did the tapping, I was in it, I was feeling it, and now I just watch it like a movie. So different people have different experiences, but essentially what's happening is every time you do a little bit of this, you are clearing out that stuck energy, the stuck emotions that are supposed to be in motion, but we've suppressed that, we've repressed that, and we've bottled it all up. That's creating dis-ease within and eventually manifesting as disease in the body. So it's really simple, and I have a YouTube channel with over 240 videos explaining things about chronic pain and also showing you the tapping, how to do the basic tapping, how to do the more advanced tapping, how to tap on releasing anger, releasing fear, releasing all these emotions, because when you release and clear these emotions, then your energy is flowing better. And one of the first things I noticed when I did a lot of this releasing is how deep I could breathe. And it's because when you've cleared up all this, overloaded, stuck energy in your system, now the blood is flowing better, the energy is flowing better, you can breathe better, and you just do better, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So I was sharing with you what I did when I was on bed. I made a list of all the incidents, those redwoods that I had bottled up, never dealt with, and I could feel more relief. But here are some questions that are also in the book about people say, so Shalini, I have this pain, or I have knee pain. How do I get to the bottom of it? How do I know what's the root cause of that? And so you have to be a little bit of Sherlock Holmes and do some digging work. And the questions in the book, and some of them are here, help you get to the root of what might be at the cause of your chronic pain. And one of the questions is, when was the first time I noticed this pain? When was the first time I noticed knee pain? When was the first time I noticed the back pain? Why is that important? It's important because when the pain shows up, something's already been going on inside your system. For example, I went to the gym, I had the pinprick pain in my left rib, and that was the first time I noticed my pain. But at that time already, there was a lot of stress in my life, and that's when the pain showed up. So the next question is, was there any physical incident that started the pain? And then what was the key stress in your life? And if you really want to heal chronic pain, then you want to look at that, because if you haven't released the stressful feelings, and for me, as I've already shared it, I hated my job, and I was restless, and I was, being edgy and feeling really like a bad parent, and then the guilt and the shame cycle and the not good enough and loser and all of that stuff that was going on. And then suddenly my body speaks out with pain. Like I said, pain is a messenger. So when you have the first experience with pain, reflect on what's going on in my life that feels painful. What's been painful in my life so far? And if you start to address the emotional, mental pain, then you're really getting to the healing. Then you're really healing the pain, not just treating it with medications. For me, medications and stuff is just kind of like a, what do you call that, the plaster that you put on the wound, but it's not really healing the wound, it's just treating it. And the medical system treats pain. They don't heal the root cause. So what emotional pain in your life does this pain remind you of? Which areas of your life have you been feeling off balance? It could be finance, financial worries, you know the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic, and if you know the lower back is, in yoga, it's the root chakra. In the Indian system, which I've studied, the chakra system, you have the lower, you know, the root chakra and the sacral chakra and the solar plexus and the heart chakra. So everything is interrelated. And so what's going on in your finance and the financial worries is going to show up. And usually it's on the lower back because that's the root chakra. And it deals with family issues, financial issues, and stuff like that. So every part of the body has a different message. And so you want to see, you know, check which area in your life has been feeling off balance, and what painful incidents in your life do you find hard to forgive and forget. And so, you know, a lot of people talk about forgiveness, and a lot of stuff that we hold on to are feelings of unforgiveness. And when we don't forgive, and we find hard to forget and forgive, then it's the other person is not there, but we're holding on to the grudges and the resentments, and these are toxic emotions that are supposed to be in motion, they're supposed to be released, but we are holding on to them, we bottle them. And so that's another thing. These are different doorways to look at what's you know, what is the pain that I'm holding on to. So that's looking at forgiveness, or what's the pain in your life. So these are certain clues that are questions, that are clues to help you get to the bottom of what's really going on. And like I said, it's not one key cause. It's a multiple, you know, there's multiple issues going on that are impacting it. And here's one way to go about finding the root cause. And so what can EFT be used for? It can be used for stress relief, it can be used for anxiety relief, pain relief. And you know, when I read, when I studied EFT 15 years ago, the founder of EFT is an American, Gary Craig. He said, try it for everything. So I literally took that. So once I healed myself from my chronic pain, I tried it for everything. And really, whether it's cough, whether it's cold, whether it's headache, whether it's, my daughter is now in New York, she's doing musical theater, and she would always have this dryness in her throat, and so we've used EFT for that. My son used to have a hard time sleeping. You know, he thought there were monsters behind the curtain when he was a kid. I've used EFT for just about everything. A friend of mine was visiting Phuket recently, and she had a massive tooth pain, and you know, she had done tapping with me in one of my programs, and she said, I tried the tapping and it really helped me. She made a video about it and posted it on Facebook. It's on my Facebook as well. So try it on everything. It doesn't hurt. And what I love about EFT is that, oops, it skipped. Why is this not coming? Okay, anyway, the benefits of EFT, which I don't know why it's not coming up, is number one, it's free. Right, it's at your fingertips. So there's no, even if you're a skeptic or you want to poo-poo it or whatever, it's free. It doesn't hurt to try it. Number two is that you can use it anytime, anywhere. You can tap if you're, you know, in a meeting, if you're here, or you know, anywhere. All you need are your fingertips. Also, you experience relief instantly, and there's no side effects. You know, you're not taking medications, there's no side effects. It's a very versatile tool. So I healed costochondritis using this tool. I healed my chronic pain using this tool. I've used it for anxiety. So it's like if you go to a medical store, you need a different medicine for costochondritis probably, and something different for migraines, and something different for 10 different things. This is just one tool. So it's a very versatile tool. You can use it for stress relief and pain relief and you know, anything really. So it's a versatile tool, and it's a people's tool. You can learn it. My 6 and 7-year-old kids learned it. My parents, my dad is 88 now. He's learned it. So it's a people's tool, and you don't have to be, you don't have to go to a healer or someone out there to help you. You can take charge of your own health and of your own well-being, and all you have to do is try it, and all you have to do is tune inwards, and whether it's a physical pain or an emotional pain, you can use it on yourself, by yourself, and feel equipped and empowered with a tool for life, because life keeps happening and you keep having all kinds of ups and downs to navigate. So it's a life tool. And here's a new definition of pain. It's by Ian Levanzon, and it's pay attention inward now. So if you want to connect with me, that's the last page. And again, it's missing information, but I don't know why that's doing it. Oops. All right. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called EFT with Shalini. That's it. You just have to put it in the YouTube, and you'll see a lot of videos. So you can connect with me on my website or Facebook, and I'm open to questions if you have any.
Good morning. I'm 88 and I'm very, very happy. I don't think I'm stressed. I'm really enjoying my life. And the only time I have my pain is when I've been sitting down like this, and then I start walking, and then my knees are killing me. So I will tap in my brain or my knee or what, help me, because as soon as I start walking, within about, I don't know, say here to the door, the pain will slowly go away, and then I can walk for a mile or 10 miles or whatever. I don't have pain. I only have pain when I've been sitting down, watching the television or watching you. So how can your system help me?
Yeah, and so once again, like I said, it's a multi-layered problem, and so once again, you want to go back and say, when was the first time I noticed this pain? Because if there is a pain, whether it's sitting down or only when you're walking up the stairs, I get this a lot, like only when I walk up the stairs and I have this pain, or only when I'm running I have this pain, or only when I'm sitting I have this pain. The fact that you have pain is your body letting you know something needs tending to, something's been feels off balance. And if you go back to when was the first time the pain started, and start, I can't go into the details, you can see my book, but there's a step-by-step process on which you can, go back and say, what was the stress in my life when the first time I noticed this pain? And it'll give you clues to what stress you're still holding on to, not consciously, but subconsciously, and it's stored in that part of the body. And so as you begin to release the stress and the tension, and I know you're 88 and there's been a lot of life lived and different experiences, but that's basically the process that you would have to go through to say, what was going on in my life when I noticed this pain the first time? And knees, because I do chakra diagnosis and all, every part of the body has a different message. So, for example, what do you do with your knees? What is the function of the knees? The knees help you bend, right? If you didn't have knees, then you would be walking in a really weird way. And in the chakras, I'm not making this up, but it's about bending with the changes in your life. And at 88, you've been through a lot of different changes that have been some hard to accept, some hard to digest, some hard to deal with. And so that's where I would go. What were the changes in your life that were hard to accept, that were painful? And that pain hasn't just disappeared, it's still stored in your system, because if you go back and look at things that happen, there's pain there, and that's stored. in that part of the body. So I hope that gives some clues, some tips. Yeah.
Shalini, I had extreme pain before I met you, and I couldn't ride on the back of a motorbike. It was so bad. Couldn't go to the gym and enjoy that. And I bought your book and I read it, and I employed the tapping techniques that you showed here, and I have no pain now.
Wow, that's great.
It's amazing, really. I'm 84, by the way.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A very interesting talk, and sport, to my knowledge, a few years ago I was looking on the internet and about an Indian man was talking exactly the same about tapping, and at Christmas time I had a terrible pain in my head, and at my age, I'm as old as him, and I thought I was having some sort of stroke. It was that intense, and I subjected myself to tapping all the way around it, like this, just like that, and concentrated on removing it, and it disappeared. That's the truth. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it just recently, I had a very bad pain here, and I did exactly the same, tapped all the way around it like this, for about 10 minutes while I was lying in bed. Gone. So it does work, and if you can hit the points that you were pointing out, particularly here and on the side, the emotions do disappear. And I thank you for pointing out everything, and I shall be looking at your book. Thank you.
Thank you. So even if you're just tapping on any of these points, even if you're not doing it perfectly, you're still doing acupressure. And so if you're tapping here, it's, you're tapping on 14 yang meridian points. And if, in EFT, we don't really tap on the stomach. If you have stomach pain, you just tap on the 9 points. If you have anything, you just tap. But even if you're tapping on the stomach, that's tapping on the solar plexus where the problem is. So you're an energy being, you're an energy body, and everything is energy. We heard it in school, but we don't really understand that. And once you start releasing the energy, it, you release it and something clears.
Okay, thank you. It was very, very interesting. And I wonder if you have people who had arthritis and who are cured from arthritis, because I have serious arthritis, and this is very painful. This was my first question. You have examples here?
Yeah, I am an example. So in 2018, 12 years after I had been on this journey, I had, I turned 50, and I experienced arthritis, and actually it started as a pain in my hand, and then it was all over the left side of my body, like every joint, every finger joint, toe joint, knee joint, ankle joint, hip joint, every joint hurt. And I was in so much pain that I couldn't have held the mic, I couldn't hold my phone, I couldn't lift my hand like this, I couldn't open the door of the car, I couldn't make a ponytail. That was that much pain. 12 years after I had been an expert on pain relief, and I share that in the book. But as I know, my body doesn't go crazy just because it's 50 and menopause and all of that. There is something going on inside, and if I looked back, like the question, what was the stress in your life before this pain started or during the time that this pain started? And in 2018 was one of the second worst or maybe the worst year of my life, where I discovered a lot of painful stuff that my daughter had experienced that I didn't know about. And she said it when she was 16, but something had happened at the age of 6, which she never told me. So my world shook, like was an earthquake in my life, literally like somebody pulled the rug out and like, how did this happen under my nose? So there was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of rage at the person who had, you know, that was to blame. So there's a lot of, if you look back and you're really honest with yourself, I'm like a Sherlock Holmes with my emotions, and I could see, and 3 of my best friends' marriages broke apart. They all came to me with their woes, and usually I work with clients, but these were kids, like these are friends who were my lifelong friends, and I knew their husbands, I knew their kids, I knew them, and they all came to me. The same year my dad had a brain stroke, and you know, he almost died. So there was a series of non-stop emotional events that was so overwhelming that even though I was tapping regularly, it was kind of like, you know, the tsunami hit, and my body, after a whole year of this, started speaking. And I trust my body and I know its language, so I started really going back and journaling a lot of what I was feeling. And I was angry at my friends, I was resentful at my friends for like always coming at me, and like I couldn't deal with it, but I couldn't say that to them. And so all those stored heavy, intense feelings lodged in the body, and as I started clearing it and releasing it, I was completely free of my every single pain. And when I went to the doctor, he said, oh, you're overusing your left hand, and I'm a right-handed person, so I knew he had no clue what he was talking about. And if you Google about arthritis or autoimmune disorders, they'll say, no, there's no cure. You just have to take medicines for the rest of your life. And I'm a living proof that I can dance, I can jump, I can do whatever. And it's because I went back to releasing and clearing the anger, the rage, the sadness, the guilt, the shame that I felt. And as I released that, you know, my body returned to its natural state. And yes, I've worked with other people who had arthritis as well. It's not magic. There's no magic in this. You have to do the work. You have to be willing, and you have to be able to sit with the uncomfortable feelings that none of us want to look at. We just want quick fix cures. There is none of that. In EFT, you look at it's emotional freedom. So you have to be able to look at that painful stuff and release it. And you're not looking at it so that you can roll in the emotional dirt. You're looking at it because it's there. And what you're doing is you can't clean dirt if you don't see it. You have to see it and then you clear it. So what you do is you consciously go back and say, okay, what is the pain? And then you address it using the tapping. And as you keep clearing it, there's no magic. There's this blocked energy, and then it frees up, and then the body starts doing what it knows how to do best. It knows how to work. It knows how to, it knows what to do. So yes.
Okay, I made my list already in my mind, so I can start.
Yeah.
How long did it take to have the
So
pain relief for you?
Arthritis, I actually spent 4 months. I didn't see clients. I didn't do anything because I was in so much pain and I was depressed. I felt like I had 10,000 iron, thing in my chest. It felt so heavy. And I used to meditate a lot. I couldn't really do much. So I just sat and I journaled and I vented in the journal, and then I also tapped. And you can read about that in the book as itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a lot of other questions,
Sure.
but I will send an email for this, okay?
Okay,
So that
sure.
we can give the chance to other people.
Sure.
Well, we have one more.
I'm not sure if you're familiar. About 6 months ago, there was a EFT seminar on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I watched that,
Yeah.
and I tried it, and I found myself with negative Western thoughts of, oh, this is silly. We would never do this in Los Angeles. Those kind of thoughts, and I think a lot of Westerners suffer with this.
Mm-hmm.
This, and I'm a hippie. I'm really into that, but nevertheless. So can you speak to that? Because I think even now there's some people that are saying, oh, come on,
And you know what, to the skeptics, I say, there's no harm trying. Like, I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm just trying to raise awareness for people in chronic pain that there is a way out. And it's natural to be skeptical because, I was a desperate mother. So I couldn't just if somebody told me at that time in my life that if you jump and do jumping jacks 10 times and it's going to heal your chronic pain, I would try it. Why? Because I was desperate. I just wanted my life back. I wanted to have a normal life with my kids. And that's why, even though if you read the book, I thought, this is silly. This is crazy. I can't. If the experts in Bangkok, and Bangkok is known for its medical tourism, and if all these experts can't help me, that means I'm stuck. And then suddenly I come across this silly looking, weird technique, and I thought, how is it possible that you can do this and heal your chronic pain? But I did. And what I didn't mention is at the seminar that I went, where I learned about this EFT, here's what happened. So they said, to show that thoughts create your disease and thoughts create your reality, we're going to do a demo. And they said, anybody in chronic pain, I was too chicken. I didn't put my hand up, but one girl did. And they called her up in the front of the, in the front of the audience. And this woman did chakra diagnosis, which is where I learned chakra diagnosis from. And she took a pendulum and she ran that over her energy body. And she said, now you're going to say 21 affirmations in your head. And this lady, the one that was the volunteer, she had lower back pain. And she asked her, how much pain do you feel right now? She said, 8. And then she did this, diagnosis with the pendulum, told her to say a specific 21 times, and then said, what's the pain now? And she said, a 2. So if you read the book, I was so skeptical, I turned to my friend and I said, she's a setup. There is no way in hell that I've been trying 15,000 things and my pain is not going away. And she just mumbled something in her head and her pain is down from an 8 to a 2. I pop pills morning, night, evening, and she has to be a setup. Like, there's no way. So it's all in the book. But that also opened me up to the possibility, like, what if there is something there? Because the guy who spoke about it, his wife, he had tried to kill himself, and now he was going from country to country, and I thought, there's something there, and I'm desperate, so I'm gonna try it. And I actually eventually did the chakra diagnosis workshop, so I also know how to do the chakra system as well as the acupuncture, approach.
I'd last question.
Thank you very much for your talk, very instructive. One thing you haven't really mentioned, or perhaps you forgot so much to mention, you've just left it out, is breathing. I think breathing is a very important tandem with your touching. Could you talk about that, please?
Well, breathing is basically, your breath is the energy, right? It's the breathing. So what happens is, when you tune in to what's bothering you and you tap, you notice that you breathe better because you release the stuck energy that is clogging your energy system, that is giving you that shallow breath. And so as you clear the blocked energy in your system, you naturally breathe better. And that just means that energy is flowing better in your system, and you're breathing what they call the diaphragm breathing and not just the shallow breathing. So definitely breathing gets impacted as you clear and let go of the stuck energy that is like a traffic jam. It's clogging your system, and when you clear it, you breathe better. When you breathe better, that means you do better, mentally, emotionally, physically, overall.
And I think a lot of us feel better just from having heard that talk. So a huge round of applause for Shalini for a wonderful talk and sharing your journey so honestly. We do have a small token of our appreciation that you can put on your wall and tap on whenever you need to be reminded that you are appreciated. So wait.